Yeah. So Bonvechio, it sounds like there should be two C's.
All right, guys, welcome back to Grid Gym Live. We have Tony Bonvechio with us. Did I get that right? Did I nail that?
You got it, man.
Totally terrible with pronunciation, apparently. But Tony is about to start a strength gym, putting out a book. It's called Strength House. If you guys want to follow him online, he's been working at Cressy Performance for a while. You guys know Tony Gentilcore that was on the show the other day. Tony and Tony worked together, two bald-headed big guys working together. It's pretty cool. I bet did that ever get confusing where people are like, oh, the big bald guy, go talk to him. Did that ever get confusing?
It did. But luckily, Tony G is about 8 inches taller than I am. So, like, once people put us next to each other, they said, oh, okay, now we know the difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, big or like big, you know, like who knows? But anyway, Tony's going to be with us. What's that?
It was just always Tony G and Tony B, which, again, the rhyming made it even more confusing. But, you know, we made it work.
Yeah, that's actually at our gym. Eric and I work together. He does the mornings and I do the afternoon. And we're both like, he's probably about an inch taller than me. So, and he's like a big dude, but we're just two big bearded dudes. So I'm feeling like the big guy with the beard. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The same guy. But, well, tell me a little bit about Strength House and what you got going on there. This is pretty exciting stuff because you guys have been pushing the social media thing on this for a while, but I didn't know you were actually going to start actual brick and mortar physical gym. Like, tell me about it.
We are well on our way. So it's Greg Robbins and myself. We were coworkers at Cressy Sports Performance for a couple of years, and we started working together with doing online training under the Strength House umbrella, and we were doing our series of powerlifting seminars, optimizing the big three. And it just got to the point where, you know, we had kind of built enough of a brand and got enough of a following that we wanted to, you know, open our own gym. So we're opening our gym here in Worcester, Massachusetts, looking to do mostly powerlifting, strength training, sports performance. And we've been in our space for since September 2nd. And we're painting and, you know, laying down flooring and setting up equipment and working hard to get this up and running as soon as we can.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when Grit Gym started, we had not painted the walls yet. Like, we were just like, you know what, just screw it. Like, if somebody puts a barbell, like, not like I want people to slam a barbell on the wall, but I wanted it to look like they could and it not be a big deal. So we were just like, whatever. So we just left the plywood up on the wall, called it good.
Sometimes bare bones.
So what's that?
That sometimes bare bones is good, man. That's what you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you walk into a lot of these commercial places and it's like there's TVs up, there's bicycles over in the corner. People are reading a magazine while they're on a cardio. You know, there's mirrors all over the place. It's like such a distraction. You know, like take down all the nice fancy stuff. Get rid of the TVs. That was my thought. Just let's get real. Let's actually get in here and get some results. You know.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit. How'd you get started in lifting?
So I started lifting like a little bit in high school, but mostly got serious about it in college. So I played college baseball at a small Division II school in Vermont, and really kind of fell in love with lifting, like trying to get better at college baseball, but really just ended up doing like bodybuilding style routines for a couple of years. And then kind of like going into my senior year of college, I started to read some stuff like by Louis Simmons and Joe DeFranco and guys who were both like, you know, obviously Louis was, you know, full blown powerlifting, but Joe DeFranco was taking very much like a very powerlifting approach and applying it to his athletes. And that's what kind of like, you know, made a light bulb go off in my head. And I said, like, this seems like a pretty cool style of training. So started to train a little bit more with a powerlifting focus and just knew that powerlifting was going to be my thing. I was a way better lifter than I ever was a baseball player. So like, as much as I loved baseball, I almost couldn't wait for my baseball career to end so I could start powerlifting. So I've been in powerlifting since 2010. And that's really kind of where most of our clients are. You know, they're power lifters, or they're people who don't necessarily compete in powerlifting, but train with a powerlifting focus.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to deny. I mean, like just getting stronger, like the number of genius ideas that you can take from the powerlifting community to the health kind of and fitness area. I mean, you can't deny that strength is important. You know, like like strength, power, speed are all important, but like you got to have that strength component with the correct movement patterns. Otherwise, you're not able to do all the things that you want to do in your life. So it works on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, we call ourselves like strength and conditioning coaches, but we're really like force production coaches, right? We're teaching people to produce force in multiple directions against the ground, against an opponent, against an external object, whatever. And powerlifters happen to be very, very good at learning how to produce force. Maybe not as fast as an athlete should, or maybe heavier than what a general fitness client should. But the core tenets of, just like, get strong and big, use progressive overload, use enough movement variability to stay healthy, but focus on, a couple of lifts so that you can make lots of progression over time. I guess that's probably the biggest thing that powerlifting has taught me, that I've been able to use with, all kinds of different people, is that if you do just focus on the same lift over and over and over, number one, it gets kind of boring. And number two, like you can get overuse injuries. So keeping that core tenet of like, I'm going to have some sort of squat, I'm going to have some sort of press, I'm going to have some sort of hinge or pull or whatever you want to call it. But adding in that movement variability around that core, couple of lifts to keep things fresh, to keep getting stronger, and to avoid injury. Yeah,
totally. And I mean, you can have variance. I think a lot of people think that when it comes to powerlifting, they have to just do bench squat dead, and they have to always deadlift with a straight bar, just a regular barbell, that they can't go with the trap bar. And they don't give, they think you got to go conventional all the time. They think it's almost cheating to go out to sumo. It's kind of a silly thing. Or that that partial squats are bad, but like if you program them in for a reason, it all makes good sense. And you have variety in your component just within that. And then you can really branch out into like sets and rep schemes too. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it to really start building yourself up. How much do you, so I asked you this before we got on here, but your thoughts on like muscle confusion, where you're throwing different exercises at yourself every single workout all the time, and just trying to, so that your body doesn't ever adapt to the stimulus.
That's a good way to never get good at anything. I'm training mostly powerlifters, where the squat, bench, and deadlift are their sport, so there's a huge skill component. It'd be like telling a baseball player, okay, like today you're going to throw with a baseball, but tomorrow you're going to throw a football, and the day after that you're going to throw a dodgeball, and like that doesn't make any sense. So there's certainly a time and a place to add in variation, mostly from, like I said before, like a health standpoint. So I'm all for rotating accessory exercises frequently, rotating warm-up exercises frequently, but strength is very much a skill, right? There's a huge neurological component to learning these exercises and getting proficient at them. So you got to do them often. You got to do them over and over and over. And I always have to remind myself that like people get bored with powerlifting. I never get bored with powerlifting. I could squat, bench, and deadlift every week, 52 weeks a year. And that'll make you good at something, right? But you can't go with the muscle confusion theory if you ever want to get strong at any of the big three lifts.
Yeah. Well, I even think from a health component, like if you try to, like, you never end up getting strong, you just kind of end up confusing the body. You never actually build a skill. Just like you said, like it'd be like you're going to learn algebra one day, and then you're going to learn calculus the next day, and then you're going to learn small arithmetic, and then you're going to learn you're going to try to read The Tale of Two Cities, and then you're going to read a Dr. Seuss book. It's like if you try to do all those, you're just going to dabble in different things, and you're never actually going to build any skill at all. Like,
right. I think at some point you got to really dial it in, and if you want to master something, you got to spend a ton of time doing it and just make it so it is second nature. And fitness is a weird thing because patience is hugely important, but not a lot of people have it. So the idea of like, okay, I'm going to do the same exercise twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, every week for years and years and years. And like, that to me sounds awesome. It doesn't sound awesome to some people. I understand that. But, you know, if you really do want to get strong, it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Eddie Hall documentary that Matt Bell did.
Actually,
it's fantastic, by the way.
Everybody.
What's that?
Yeah, everybody. I haven't seen it yet. Everybody raves about it. I feel like a bad strength enthusiast for having not seen it yet.
No, dude, you're working. You just started a gym. You actually you're a practitioner of what you're talking about here. So like, of course you haven't seen it. No, I watched it this Sunday for the first time, and I thought it was great. But if you think about that guy, like that guy smashes the world record. What did he do? It was 462, and then he did 500 a few months. Oh, what was that? Like that might have been about a year ago now. But like in the last 10 years, how many weeks do you think he went without deadlifting? Like 0. Uh-oh.
Oh, and he wrong that if he deadlifts, if he does like his
Tony, we're kind of cutting out a little bit.
Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Just like not right now. I heard that though. Shoot. Guys, can you hear us on you guys' end? If you can, please comment in the bottom. Be Live TV not working out so hot for us lately. I'm gonna downsize my screen, get rid of some stuff.
It's worth out. I can hear you okay.
Okay, great. What were you saying there?
I was saying that Eddie Hall's actually probably on like the other end of the spectrum where he's so strong that
Crap.
If he does like I'll deadlift week in and week out, he may run himself into the ground. So there's kind of this scale of
I'm kind of going in and out, man. Sorry.
The idea is
Hold up.
Sorry.
No, we're having some technical.
The take-home point is super specific. So strong that maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, you mean about I missed all of that. You probably said something so genius, and it was like the greatest idea that I've ever heard in my life, and I completely missed it. But like, are you meaning like Eddie Hall does? He's like to the other end of the spectrum where he's gotten so specific that he's almost asking for trouble. Whoa.
I just moved back. I moved back in the gym. Maybe the Wi-Fi is a little better out here,
okay.
or rather. But yeah, I mean, like there's kind of that sliding scale of specificity where sometimes when you're so strong and so proficient in a movement, you actually got to train it a little bit less so you don't overload so much. But most people don't have to worry about that whatsoever.
No, yeah, no, they just need to get some weight in their hands, right? You know. Yep. Okay, so along the lines of so we did muscle fusion, sets to failure. Thoughts on that? Where sets to failure in terms of like every time you come to work out, you're just basically going to work up to a max weight for a certain amount of reps, and then you're going to stop.
I mean, your ceiling for progression is super low in that situation. I'm a huge believer in submaximal training. Greg and myself are disciples of that for the most part, and doing a lot of work in kind of this. If you're working off of percentages, kind of your money is made in the 70 to 80% range, and a lot of that has to do with the skill component, because if you're going heavy all the time, your technique is going to break down. You're going to build up too much fatigue too quickly. And a lot of those reps, even if you are successfully completing reps in that 90%, 95% range, chances are you're not going to be able to do enough volume with good enough technique to really make progress over time. Because intensity is like the immediate what's immediately felt as a training effect. You go really, really heavy and you go all out and you go to failure, and you feel that right now. But volume is what makes you do better over time. So if you can be prudent enough to not go so damn heavy right now, but you do a lot of volume today, and then you do a little bit more volume next week and a little bit more volume the week after that, you don't need as much intensity to make progress. It's just you just need patience. There comes that word again. So we're big proponents of like pretty high volume, submaximal training, and the intensity will take care of itself once you come back around to testing a max.
Yeah, no, that's how we do it too. Like, I think submaximal lifting is just the way to go. I mean, from an injury reduction standpoint, from a skill standpoint, from a long-term, like making progressions over the long term, it's way better. Like, you come in, you max out every single day. I think you just torch out your body to the point that it doesn't really even know what to do because it's too busy screaming at you to stop, basically. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
With that said, though, like when you do think of like intensity and you think of like training to failure, I am a big fan of training to failure for a hypertrophy standpoint. But that just means picking the right exercises and the right body parts. I think there's a huge difference between like doing a set of 12 bicep curls to failure and doing a set of 3 of deadlifts to failure. Like one is very, very risky. The other is not so risky at all. So you got to kind of pick your battles with that.
Yeah, we have trouble with that when people first start at the gym, especially if they've been other places, talking them into it, because they think like we do time sets. Like we're doing 8 sets of 2, for instance, at maybe like, I don't know, like 70% of their 1 rep max or something. And they're like, I feel like I should be doing 10 of these for every set. It's like, just calm down. Everything will be okay.
That's good. That means you chose the right weight for that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that's how you want to feel. And they're like, I just want to go. I'm like, yeah, well, if you leave here with a burning desire to come back tomorrow, we did something right.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one to sell. You're like, no, I want to leave drenched in sweat. But so what about like training around injuries? You've had to do a little bit of that, right? Just not anything super serious, you said, but like I've had to train around some pretty serious stuff. So I'm glad that you haven't.
I spend a lot of time explaining to powerlifters that you're never going to be at 100%. You're always going to be operating like a little bit below that. I would say a lot of times I have like some little thing going on, whether it's like, a pec that's a little achy or like a knee or a hip that's a little cranky or something like that. But there's a big benefit to adding in movement variability, like I said before, to a lot of your accessory work, and getting out of the sagittal plane a lot of times with core work, with your warm-ups, with something like that. So powerlifting is all sagittal plane. It's all front to back. You never go side to side. You never rotate. And if you're any good at it anyways, I've seen some people like helicopter their deadlifts and stuff, but so adding in like lateral lunges or adding in some sort of anti-rotation or even rotational based core work, stuff to just kind of that where loading can't be that heavy. Choosing the right exercises, self-limiting almost, where you can't go that heavy. I think that helps a lot. And for me as well, what helps a ton is having somebody else do my program. So I have Greg, my business partner, writes my programs. Because if I were writing my own, like I'd beat the fuck out of myself. And I'm sorry if I realized I just cursed on your show and I didn't ask for permission first.
It's all right, dude. Fuck, shit, ass, bitch.
Well, you did just have Delta Core on, so I'm sure 20G swears way more than I do. But that helps a lot too, because I think a lot of people fall into one of 2 categories if they write their own programs. Number 1, they're going to be super lazy and not do anything. Or number 2, they're going to run themselves into the ground. Very few times do we actually strike that middle ground when we write our own programs. So having somebody write mine helps me kind of moderate things a little bit. And if I report back certain RPEs, or if I report back that like, hey, this bench press day made my pec feel kind of cranky,
sure,
my coach can make an adjustment instead of me just trying to like push through.
Yeah. That's how I am too. Like I'll just run myself right into the ground. Like it's like even things that I hate. Like like if somebody else writes my program, I'm not gonna like it that they put in chin-ups or pull-ups because I hate them. Yeah. Like everybody hates them. But at the same time, like I'm glad they did. But if I was writing my own program, I would still put those in. But it'd be like 8 sets. Yeah. And it'd just be like, that's like, come on, get ready. Like I probably don't need 8 sets of 6 chin-ups, in one workout.
Yeah.
So, unless that's like the entirety of the workout, But I
I
completely.
got the world's shortest arms. I suck at anything that involves pulling.
Really? That's probably like that help you a lot in the deadlift too.
I have pretty lousy deadlift leverages. I think God built me to squat and bench, but
Really?
you give it and you take it away on the on the deadlift.
What are your numbers right now?
My best ever squat is 545, bench 405, and deadlift 600. It's been a couple years since I've competed.
Yeah,
once we get the gym operational, I need to just suck it up and pick a meet and do it. Because Greg recently did a meet and did his first 700-pound deadlift, and we have clients who are competing all the time. And every time I go to a meet and coach somebody, I'm like, yeah, I gotta get back to this, because all my PRs are in the gym now, which is no good. That's like a big red flag for a power lifter. You're not supposed to do that,
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you got to drink your own Kool-Aid, right?
Yep.
Like how, explain a little bit more. The people that are watching this probably don't know, like sagittal plane versus frontal plane versus transverse, or like what you mean by that. Can you go a little bit more into depth on how you build variability into and in terms of like from a healthy standpoint, like obviously we got to get strong, and then you got to add some armor around it, right? How do you do that?
Yeah, and I like that term armor a lot, like building armor, like building resiliency. So sagittal plane meaning like front to back. So like any squat, any bench, any deadlift, like everything's happening in that sagittal plane front to back. Frontal would be, side to side. That'd be like doing like a lateral raise would be in the frontal plane, doing like a lateral lunge in the frontal plane. And then transverse, anything that's like rotating, kind of moving through all 3 planes. So obviously your big lifts are going to be sagittal. You're going to squat, you're going to bench, you're going to deadlift. Kind of any sort of Olympic lift is sagittal as well. But as soon as you get on one leg or like do one arm at a time, there start to be aspects of anti-rotation, anti-flexion, anti-lateral flexion, where even if you still kind of are moving in that sagittal plane, you think of like a lunge or a split squat as a sagittal plane exercise, there's still frontal plane demands. So I'm a big proponent of adding in single arm work, single leg work to a program to kind of help somebody stay healthy. I just think too, like, I fucking hate single leg work. I hate lunges. I hate split squats. I hate any of that stuff, but it makes a huge impact, I think, on hip health, on lower back health, to be able to train your quads, train your glutes, train your hamstrings one leg at a time, and not always have to be banging yourself up with squat or deadlift variations. Because I'm telling you, we do enough of that stuff, So if I've got a squat and then front squat and then like leg press or something like that in a program, I'm going to feel terrible. But if I'm going to maybe squat, front squat, and then lunge, or do like a one leg RDL, something like that, I think that makes a big difference from a health standpoint in the long run.
Yeah. I think it plays into a little bit of that self-limiting stuff that you were talking about before too. Like you're not able to carry that amount. Like for a squat, for instance, you might be able to squat if you can squat 500, let's say 500 pounds, and then you go to do like a Bulgarian split squat, or we use the RFESS, so we just call it RFESS, but you use one of those, you're not going to be able to overload near the same amount of weight. You'll be able to do a lot more than half, but still, it's different. It's not beating up on you so much. You're just not carrying as much weight on your back.
Yeah, and certain things like that where like it's just plain dangerous, like to load it up that heavy. So there is that good self-limiting factor. Like I've seen people train single leg stuff really, really heavy, like as low as like 3 or 4 reps per set, and it can be done. But I think when you're a power lifter and you're already loading like the bilateral stuff really heavy, it just is another reason to go a little bit lighter and to work on range of motion and just like to feel the muscles working instead of working so hard on just like going from point A to point B.
Right. Yeah. We're like finessing it a little bit almost. Like we'll do it where we'll use 2 different weights on in each hand for a farmer's walk, or we'll walk on 2x4s, for like with a goblet carry, so just so they have something like. I know. Somebody's calling me. What's that?
But even just the example right there, like you think farmer's walk, okay, I'm just walking a straight line. That's sagittal plane, right?
Right.
But you put a different load in each side, and like if you don't have that core stability to prevent from bending to the side, so those are just really kind of like subtle and intelligent ways to make a sagittal plane exercise have non-sagittal plane demands.
Immediately too, right? You're not, it's the same thing. Like you're not going to be able to pick up as much weight. You're going to have a completely different, or not completely different, but quite a significant different stimulus. Your body's going to have to react in a different way, and you still get all the benefits. So
yeah, and I think an exercise like that is more fun to do than like Palloff press is a great exercise, but it's fucking boring. I'd much rather train an anti-rotation component by, like you said, like doing like an offset carry or something like that. So that's some of the art side of the coach versus the science. The science is kind of the same, but the way you present it, that's how you do the art of it. And you're a gym owner, like you're trying to train hard and you're trying to have people train productively, but it also has to be enjoyable. It has to be exciting. Right. So stuff like that's really important.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if you like the muscle confusion thing, like you can kind of see where it got born out of like, oh, people can't get bored, but it's like it went a little bit too far. But the science can go a little bit too far where it's like, no, you got to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Well, we can mesh these a little bit. Like we can like for instance, one of the ways that we do it is like more of a, when we get into more of like our conditioning type stuff where we're trying to drive the heart rate up, why not throw variability at them? Who cares? What's the real goal? We're trying to drive the heart rate through the ceiling.
Yep, that's a case where inefficiency actually is warranted.
Yeah, you have to have it. That's why you do because humans are just not good at that interval training, that alactic glycolytic type exercise. So like we end up burning more calories because we're inefficient at it. It's like it's almost like a paradox.
Yep. What? Time and a place, man. Time and a place.
Seriously. Not everything has it, but Tony, any other things that you want to leave the Grit Gym tribe with, or words of wisdom that you want to put on the internet today before we check out?
Yeah, so I've got my first ever ebook coming out next week. Nice. It's called Bench Like a Beast. So it's a 10-week bench press training program, but it's a 10-week program to follow, but it's also kind of like a training philosophy book, if you will. It's pretty much anything and everything I've learned about the bench press over the past 10 years of coaching and training. But there's a huge emphasis too on shoulder care, because when I was coming into this industry, I loved bench pressing, but nobody wanted to do it because everybody said it would hurt your shoulders. And I knew that wasn't true.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of really good guidance and mentorship as a coach at Cressy Sports Performance, where we're doing a lot of stuff with shoulder injuries. So I've basically taken everything I've learned about powerlifting and then everything I've learned about shoulder health and kind of meshed it together in a way that I think is a really effective and intelligent way to train the bench press really hard and come out alive on the other end. So that's Bench Like a Beast. It's coming out on Tuesday, September 19th. You can check out benchlikeabeast.com where there are a lot of details on it. Still about a week to go before it's released, but trying to get people hyped up for it. Something I'm super proud of, and I can't wait to share it with the world.
Dude, I'm gonna have to go pick it up. It sounds awesome. Bench press is one of those things that like if you're doing anything just a little bit off, or you're doing too much volume, or doing too much intensity too early, or your program, you can torch someone's shoulder out so easy, or even like an elbow. I find elbow injuries almost just as common as shoulder injuries with bench presses. So I'm excited.
You just don't have the same amount of muscle mass under the bar as you do with the squat or the deadlift. You can't really use as much like active stability. There's a lot of passive stability going on, right? Like kind of wrenching yourself into these really tough positions. And the shoulders, although designed like the hips, are not the hips. Much smaller joint. And yeah, absolutely right. You can beat yourself up, and I'm hoping that what I'm providing to the fitness world is a solution to that.
Yeah, no, it sounds fantastic, dude. I'm I'm gonna have to go pick it up as soon as it goes. So a week from today. Wait, today's not the third. Today's not the 12th.
Next Tuesday. The way I remember the day that it's coming out, I wanted to release it on a Monday, but Monday is my wife's birthday, so I was not going to try to compete with that. So, happy birthday to my beautiful wife on Monday, and then bench press program on Tuesday.
Do not steal her thunder. Yeah.
Nope,
No.
absolutely not.
All right. Cool. Well, where can they follow you? In social media wise, website wise, what do you got?
So all my stuff is Bonvec Strength. So BONVEC Strength. I still can't spell strength. If I spell it out in letters, it's not good. Then for the gym, it's thestrengthhouse.com. Check us out on our website, and you can find all our social media stuff from there.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here, taking the time. I know you're busy right now, so I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Adam.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.